Well, welcome everyone to the Primer Podcast. My name is Nick, and I'm joined today by a very special guest, my wife, Pam Jordan. Pam, thank you so much for being here. You want to introduce yourself just a little bit and tell you how you know me?
Yeah, so I have been attached to this tall, red, and handsome gentleman for 22 years in marriage. We met actually at St. Mark's. We met and got married in 11 months. So it is quite relevant that we're talking about difficult people.
Yes, absolutely. That's very true. And so we are in the middle of this series called Difficult People, and it's making me notice difficult people around me more. More like when you buy a car and then you see that car everywhere. I've been seeing difficult people just literally everywhere. Like the telemarketer who calls me 12 times a day to try to get me to sell the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the drive-through lady that gets my order wrong every time.
Yes. But here's the twist, and there's difficult people all around us, and that's what we have been talking about. But the twist is, and the kicker is, that the people that are most difficult in our lives really are the people that are closest to us, right? The people that we love the most, that we're invested in the most. Those are our family members, spouses, kids, grandparents, people that are around us. And so today we're going to be talking just a little bit. I'm going to give a little bit of a brief history of where we're at in our story. We've been going through the story of Jacob and Esau. And this week we talked about how Jacob steals the blessing from Esau. And just to give a really brief synopsis of what happens, essentially Rebecca is the mother. She convinces Jacob to dress up and sneak in and get Isaac the father to bless Jacob, thinking that it is Esau. And so Jacob steals the blessing, and then Esau comes back, and he's all distraught, and it's just this whole thing. And really, my point today is not really to go into that story, but really the point is just to talk about how family drama has been going on for a long time. And I think when we look at this story, if we go back and read it, one thing that I thought about is that I can see how everyone can relate to at least one person in that story. Right now, obviously Jacob and Rebecca, they are kind of written in as the villains of it. But I mean, I think even Isaac, I can see Isaac as this aging parent who, is all he wants wanting to do is trying to leave a legacy to his family and to his sons. But he's got this kind of strange relationship with one son, and he's got a favorite son, and it just causing all these problems. And then you've got Rebecca, who's the matriarch of the family, the mother, and again, she's got one son that she loves and adores, but she can't seem to get out of the house, right? She can't seem to get him to motivate to do anything and see his true potential. I think maybe somebody listening could relate to that. Maybe they have a young adult in their house that it's time for them to go, right? But then there's the other son who doesn't really want to have anything to do and won't take up responsibility for the family, and Esau. But then there's Esau, who's impulsive and sometimes maybe he gets overlooked, but Esau is this, he's a doer, and he's kind of just disinterested with the family, and really what he wants to do is kind of do his own thing and not take any other responsibility for it. And then there's Jacob, who he's just this I don't know, if you read the story of Jacob, he seems just like a little twerp, right? Like just a little punk that won't take any responsibility for his actions, and he lies and he cheats and he steals, and just to get ahead. And this is the family that God uses to continue on this promise from Abraham to bless the entire world, and of course we know eventually through Jesus. Yeah. And so, what a crazy and ridiculous story. I wonder, Pam, is there a character in our story maybe that you relate to the most? I don't know, maybe.
I feel like that's a leading question.
Is that a leading question? Okay.
I feel like so. But I understand. and I think you're right. I think at different relationships, I think I can see myself as all of these. I think obviously Rebecca, as the mother, we've got 3 children, and you want the best for your kids, and you want them to excel, and you see the potential that they can be. And it's hard when one won't get off the sofa, and one won't get out of the room, or those kind of things. So it's hard as a mom to be to try to not control all of that and
Mm.
manipulate the situation. So I do, I can see why she may have made that decision to try to take over and manipulate her husband and her son to get what she thought was the right thing to happen.
And what's so interesting, is that God told her. Jacob was the one. Jacob was the favored son that would carry on this promise. So she knows. So there's this whole just kind of battle of her, not trusting God's timing and everything, kind of trying to rush things along. And that might be another whole story altogether. But let's talk about close relationships.
Yeah.
Right. And we obviously have a close relationship for 22 years. Right. And it's so funny is when we tell people, that we've been married 22 years, that we always get this like, oh, wow, like, what's the secret? And I'm dumbfounded. I always like feel like I should have this really great answer for that. Like, don't go to bed angry, or some like catchy, line, but all I'm thinking in my head is like, you have no idea how difficult this is.
So true. Because in marriage and in all family relationships, it's difficult because there's two people who are trying to get along. And quite frankly, we're selfish.
Mhm.
And in family relationships, that's the one person that you let in the most, which also means that's the one person that can hurt you the most. So, just like your spouse or your kids, the things they say cut deeper than other relationships. In my work world, people can say things to me and it just doesn't sting as badly as our 15-year-old making a comment about my hair, right? Like it just hurts a little bit more because you allow those relationships to mean more. And they're long-term relationships. It's not a season. We're in this for life. And in those difficult relationships with family, you have to choose not only to love each other but to like each other.
Mhm, mhm.
And that's a huge key to making it through those difficult times, because quite frankly there's some times where like I don't like you or the kids because of the situation that's going on. People aren't meeting my expectations, my timeline. If the kids aren't, we've got to be out the door by X amount and they are not moving. Like that is a hard, difficult time, and not to be yelling and all those things. But it's the choice that we made as a family, that we are a family, to love and to like and to invest in those relationships, and realize that if we're 5 minutes late to whatever, the world's not going to come to an end. um, but it's in those moments that you need to choose to both like and love and give grace even when you don't want to.
Yeah, and I didn't put this on our notes, but we've talked about it thousand times. Is relationship first, right? Our most important um, thing is the relationship, right? Is and keeping that influence in relationship above all else. And so uh, it makes you really have to monitor what you say, and it really, and hurts in families too. It hurts. This is a long time to be connected to someone, and so hurts pile up, and they can pile up, and they can grow and into these kind of habitual behaviors, and before long, something that maybe could have been um, taken care of with a hard conversation or honest conversation, now years later is becoming this thing that it really is difficult to tackle. So that I think also, I think expectations too. Like with Rebecca, she had expectations of what God had told her Jacob was going to be, and so she pushed that along, and she was disappointed. And I think a lot of times in our marriages, and we sit down with couples a lot, and we talk about how, hey, this is really difficult, and we see their their faces kind of and their eyes kind of glass over a little bit and look at us like we're crazy because there's no way that my love of my life, my boo boo, could ever disappoint and hurt my feelings and everything else. And then 3 months later, they call us and they say, "Hey, you're right. This is hard. Can we have another dinner at the house?" And we laugh about that, but it's just so true. This is so difficult. Well, we got just a few minutes left, Pam. I wanted to talk about maybe some strategies that on tools that we can use, and maybe they could talk about in their groups about relationships, about our family relationships, these relationships that are so close and are so difficult. What are some tools maybe that we could use with that?
Yeah, definitely. So the first one is gratitude, and I know you've got a story for this one, but it's really just because you chose to be in this relationship, because you chose to have a family and have these kids or a mother-in-law or that came with the spouse that may drive you crazy. It's choosing the relationship that above all else, the long-term relationship with that person is more important than the thing that's annoying you right now.
Mhm.
So I think the tool is just to decide that we are a family. This is worth fighting for. And it's worth making the decision to stick with it and do the work that needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah, and we talked about how, and Pete talks about how we see everything through a lens, right? And certainly that's the way in our marriage and our relationships, and gratitude is just such a practical and easy way. I say easy, but it's not that easy, but it absolutely works. I remember early on in our marriage, I would leave you notes and little notes and just thanking you for things and everything, and I realized quickly that you enjoyed that, so I kept doing that. And so I tried to do one every day for a while, probably 18 months or so, and so I honestly, it got kind of difficult to come up with new things, and I just didn't want to just keep thanking you for doing dishes and stuff like that, and so it was difficult to try to come up with that. But the more I did it, the more I wrote those notes and appreciated you, and I discovered how much you sacrificed, how much you loved me, how much you were doing, and I don't know if you know this, but that in that time of my life, really that was a lot for me because I was having a hard time. We were having a hard time communicating. I was having a hard time trying to get through, and I was like, I'm gonna make myself write these things down. And it changed my heart. It really did. And I don't think it changed you at all, because you were the problem. So it changed me. Um, well, so one other thing I wanted to say, just about at a time, about I wanted to read this love passage, and one of the things about love, and we have said this before, is it's not natural, right? That is this, like, sometimes we, especially young couples and especially parents too, they will think, I will just love my child, or I will just, and they will never get on my nerves, and I will know exactly what to do because love will motivate me, and with same thing with a marriage. Like, I will know exactly, what to do, and how to love them. And it's just because, and when the feeling's gone, they're lost. Like, I don't know what to do. And so oftentimes, and which are so ironic, is this passage in Corinthians is read at
Weddings.
weddings so much, but then then it's quickly forgotten, I guess. um, but I'm gonna just read right quick. It says, "Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps record of no wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails." And one of the things that we don't have time to do this today, but I think if you're brave enough with your family or with your maybe a spouse, is to sit down and do a little quiz, right? And say, Nick is patient, and just kind of put a little grade there of what you think. Now, I'm not going to do it, and I'm going to do it today, But if you were to put your name there instead of that, it's like, is Pam kind? Is Nick patient, not easily angered? And that's a really difficult thing to do, and that's something that we have to learn, right? And we have to work at, um, and it's just difficult, isn't it?
It is.
You know. Um, but the last thing is that but God is good, and the reason I wanted you to come on the podcast today is because for 22 years we have been trudging through this together, and it's absolutely worth it. And God has been so good to us. We have a beautiful family that we love, even though I've talked about how much maybe we don't, but that we do love, and but God is sufficient in this long journey. But it's definitely worth it. So thank you, Pam, so much for being here. I love you. You're beautiful.
Love you.
And I hope you guys have a great talk in your groups about difficult people, the close ones to us. So if they're sitting beside you, maybe this might be a hairy situation, but good luck. We'll see you next time.